Hello, everybody. Welcome to round 3 of the Can-Am GNCC series. We're here at the FMF Steel Creek GNCC in Morganton, North Carolina. This is the Fly Racing GNCC post-race show. I'm Jason Hooper.
I'm Rodney Tomblin.
And this was going to be maybe the biggest motor of the year, we thought, and it ended up not being. You know, we've had crazy weather reports all week long coming into the race. You know, yesterday for the ATV race, we had perfect conditions. There was supposed to be 80% chance of rain. Never happened. Last night, we got some serious rain, and I was starting to wonder, man, maybe we're going to be in some trouble for the track, but Rodney, I was wrong.
You were wrong, and I was wrong, and I think everyone involved was wrong because I think everyone was thinking the same thing. After yesterday's ATV race, Jason, we had a really good race, and like you said, they were forecasting upwards of 3/4 of an inch of rain on Saturday alone, which we skirted by and didn't get. And then after that, they were forecasting more rain showers for the night, so the track crew decided not to go out and do any track maintenance and actually left the track from where the ATVs had raced yesterday. It was packed hard, and it was slicked and polished, I guess you could say, in a lot of places, and there were a lot of whoops down here by the creek section, and I think that created a lot of obstacles for those guys. But the one thing to point out, it was slick only probably for the first 10 or 15 bikes. After that, it turned up, and they say this was probably the most perfect racetrack we've had in quite some time.
Yeah, the poor youth riders, and when I was pulling in this morning, you know, watching those kids go across the track, and they were covered in mud. I was like, oh, these poor kids, maybe it's going to be worse. But then the 10 a.m. race went off, you know, the amateur race went off, and those guys were coming through the finish, and they weren't really looking that bad. So, I mean, those kids picked up a lot of the slop. And then by the time we were ready for the afternoon race, conditions were perfect. It was a little bit cool. We didn't have much sun, you know, and that's pretty much what you get here. You either get 85 degrees and sunny, or you get cold and rainy, and we kind of skirted the rain, so it was good. Yeah,
it was good, and like you say, you never know what you're going to get here, and that same goes for the racing too. It was pretty impressive. Josh Strang got off to a great start, man, and you know, we seen him fire off that line, and I mean, it was like he had like a 2-bike length lead whenever he got to the whole shot line. It was unbelievable how much traction he was able to grab on that FMF Makita Suzuki.
Yeah, it was very reminiscent of last year. I think Strang pulled the whole shot here. I don't know, it must be, maybe it's something FMF Makita Suzuki, and it's the FMF Steel Creek GNCC. He's working something. That bike really got off the line, and you know, Strang not winning a race yet this year, I was thinking that, you know, this could be it. He's going to put it on these guys, because I know he's not happy not finishing. You know, we didn't finish on the podium in Florida, not winning races. That's not his deal. And you know, he started checking out a little bit, and he had his rival Charlie Mullins, former teammate, behind him on the FMF KTM. I guess those bikes were really getting the whole shots.
Yeah.
And those guys started going at it. And, you know, we had a little bit of a freight train there. We had those guys, and we had Corey Buttrick, Thad Duvall behind him. But as the race wore on, it really turned into the Charlie Mullins, Josh Strang show.
It was a slugfest, and that's what it was. It was, and they kept going back and forth. And actually, they pulled a 1 and 30-second lead over third place, which at this point toward the end of the race was Corey Buttrick. And they just kept going and going and going. And, you know, they kept running into lap traffic. You know, you had a 15-second lead for Charlie at one point, then it was 5 seconds. And then, you know, the next thing you know, Josh is out front of Charlie again, and then and actually with the 2 lap board coming out, you know, we saw the pass take place. Josh got into the lead, and I thought it was all over from that point on. But Josh had to stop in the pits there and get a quick splash of gas, and that changed the face of the race, at least for almost 2 laps anyway.
Yeah, well, you know, I think, you know, Strang is in a similar situation to some of these guys where they're trying to minimize the size of the tank so they can keep the bike feeling a little bit more racy, and I think he pretty much has to pit every 2 laps. So, you know, that puts him in a bit of a disadvantage. You know, I know I saw he got in the lead there, and he was trying to stretch it out, and I wasn't shooting the pit, so I didn't know what his pit strategy was, but that seems to be his MO.
Mm-hmm.
When he knows he's going to have to pit, he'll try and make a move, see what kind of a gap he can build, so to try and like make some sort of a buffer, and that's what he did there. But, you know, Charlie got back around in front of him, and, you know, they got back to wheel though on that last lap.
Wow. And it was amazing. They come down to the finish line. It was unbelievable. I mean, just a few bike lengths separating them, and we had a lot of switchbacks at the finish line this year. I'd say probably 5-6 turns that they had to go through in order to get to the checkers. And as they were making it in, you could tell that Josh was trying to set Charlie up to make the pass, and actually tried a couple times. 2 turns before the finish line, he tried to get underneath and couldn't, and Josh basically almost went down, but Charlie did not know that.
Yeah, and that, you know, leads up to the craziest finish I've ever seen in 6 years of going to GNCC racing with, I don't know, it's just right over here, 20 feet, 15 feet to the finish line. Charlie Mullins trying to protect the inside, didn't realize that Strang had slid out back there, tucks the front wheel, goes down, Strang rides around him, cruises to the win. The heartbreaker for Charlie Mullins. I can't even begin to imagine what that must feel like.
Yeah, I know that does have been. It's like he said on the podium. He said, I rode a flawless race today. He said, I made one mistake, and it was at the very end.
Yeah, of all time to do it. If he had done it in the woods, a half a mile before that, and nobody saw it, might not hurt so bad. But when you've got a million cameras, a couple thousand eyes out there, and poor guy just right there, and that was it. Now Strang, I'm pretty sure has a 1-point lead in the standings.
It's very close and very tight. I think you're right. Just a point or two separating these two now. And this right here is setting the stage for a good 2011 championship between those two. But the one thing that we got to throw into the mix here, and we haven't seen a whole lot or talked a lot about these guys today, is the other riders that are also championship contenders this year. One was last race winners, Paul Webley. He had his struggles today. Got off to a horrible start, and like the Axeman in good Axeman style, he just put his head down and started charging and worked, and finally was able, before the day was over, to salvage a top 5 ride, and that's going to be pretty crucial when we come down to counting championship points.
Sorry about that, Rodney. That's the thing with Paul. He doesn't quit. There's no give up in that guy. And he was able to manage a top 5, which is going to keep him in contention still. He had a rough race in Florida, came back with a win, wasn't firing on all cylinders today, but he's good enough that he can get a top 5 on not his best day, and that's what's going to keep him in the championship. Then obviously we didn't talk much, but when this race was going on, it reminded me a lot of the Titan. I don't know if you remember. Yeah. Charlie Mullins and Josh Strang checked out. Then we had an awesome battle for 3rd and 4th between Corey Butchick and Thad Duvall, and that was just as intense for a while there as the Strang-Mullins battle. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I think it was on the 4th lap, Thad Duvall had a pretty big get-off and, got hurt pretty good. We don't know the extent of his injuries. I've heard it was a leg injury and an arm injury. Nothing. And he ended up having to get flown away to the.
Yeah. Hopefully that was just a precautionary measure. They're saying that because of the broken femur, being so close to the artery, that was one of the reasons that they wanted to get him out in a helicopter. And he was also having some few other problems that they were kind of concerned about, but definitely going to be keeping that rider in our prayers because he was right there and he was riding a great race. And one of the riders that was right behind him and saw it all go down was Corey Buttrick. Yeah. And Corey was in the race all day today too. Yeah, poor Corey. Those guys are good friends, and you never want to see one of your buddies get hurt, let alone racing or play riding. Corey had to witness that, and and then I think he kind of just ended up just sort of riding his own race there in a lonely third. We had Caleb Russell, who's been having some bad luck of his own, kind of was putting a charge in there and got within 15 seconds of Corey in 4th place there, and I thought, well, could this be? Could Caleb, make a move here and then get in the 3rd? And he just wasn't able to make it happen. I think he started off so slow. It seemed like he kind of just charged so hard that to make up that ground, I don't know if he had anything left. He did. He was stuck back in the pack. The earlier lead with the first 8 or 10 guys on that first lap, he got stuck about 8th, 9th, 10th place back in there. And whenever the first 5 or 6 guys started breaking away, Caleb couldn't get that breakaway run, so it took him a little longer to get his head down and get through some of those guys. But he finally did. It was pretty interesting. But comes up in 4th. His best finish of the year is definitely he's got to be satisfied with that. If not, I know Caleb. He's probably not. He's going to be going back to the drawing board, and we're going to see a whole different guy in South Carolina with Caleb. Remember how well he ran down there last year in the XC2 Pro Lights class?
You took the words right out of my mouth. It was the last 2 years. I think he ended up in the top of the overall there. Not overall, but up on the top 3 there from the XC2 class. So I know he likes that track. He's comfortable at that track. It could be the place that he starts making a run for his first XC1 podium. And now that he's left the XC2 class, there's made a little bit more room for some guys to get up on that podium as well.
Yeah, and we saw almost a whole new podium today in the XC2 Pro Lights class. Interesting, whole shot. Shane O'Banion, just like he did down in Florida, man. He had one idea, or down in Georgia, I guess it was. He had one idea, and that was to get the whole shot. He was going after that $100 motorsport.com whole shot.
He really wanted that money because he definitely sacrificed the next turn.
Yes.
But I can't blame him. $100 bill laying there, you're going to go after it, aren't you, Rodney?
Yes, yes, I am.
Yeah, he went after it, and I don't think maybe after getting everybody passing him in the second turn, he might not want to go for that one anymore. But
I don't know. That might be his gas money. He might be thinking gas money. If I can just get to the races, it'll be all right. But I tell you, and we said a lot of new faces in this one. Jason Thomas got off to a great start. Stuart Baylor got off to a great start. Problem there was Stuart was using an old wheel on the rear wheel. It was off his practice bike, and I guess the spokes started loosening and everything. He started losing a lot of ground and a lot of time. They actually went into the pits. They changed that rear wheel, put a new wheel on the back of it, and he started making up time there. And actually had passed all the way back up into a third-place position as being back, I think, 7th or 8th place in the class. Had moved all the way back up into 3rd place with a couple of laps to go, and then all of a sudden, he just totally disappeared. I don't know what happened to Stu Baylor, but that last 2 laps, a lot of things happened, I think, to a lot of the XC2 Pro Lights guys. We had running back there, and I think 4th place for a good part of the day was Brad Bakken, and he was right there in the hunt, 4th and 5th place all day. It was just amazing. And then whenever it came around, he comes around in the number, was it 3 or 2 spot? No, he actually ended up in the number 3 spot, I believe it was. But regardless, man, I mean, just good to see the new names, the new fresh blood up on the podium like that.
Yeah, we've had these guys that we haven't really been able to see. I thought we were going to see Jordan Ashburn on the podium today. He was running strong all day long, and then he kind of fell off the pace. Jesse Robinson, who has been a podium regular, had some issues, and he was way back. I think he had to go back to the pits for some changes, and then we ended up seeing two of our National Enduro guys. Brad Bakken on the KTM and Andrew DeLong, who actually pulled our whole shot down in Florida, and ended up 4th in that race. These are 2 guys that they're regulars on the National Enduro Series. Can't forget that Brad Bakken won the 250A class in GNCC 2 years ago, so he's no stranger to the GNCC circuit. He knows how it works. But yeah, it's good to see these guys out there. That seems to be the new thing. Charlie Mullins, Corey Buttrick, Thad Duvall. These guys are having to run 2 series. Got to make yourself more valuable in these hard economic times. And these guys, they're doing the same thing, and it's awesome to see them get up on the podium. And it's good to see Jason Thomas back up there. The Jason Thomas that the way he ended last season, and that could be a lot of trouble for the rest of these guys.
It could, but Stuart Baylor, still got to get through Stuart Baylor. I'm sorry, but I know Jason Thomas is fast, but watch out. Stuart Baylor is the one to beat in that class, and I'm sorry, Jason Thomas, but that's just the way it is.
I'm not gonna even go there. 2nd place in the class last year. I think that's probably the.
Well, I'm just saying. I know, but this year, so what I've seen so far out of Stuart Baylor, if he can stay consistent and not have problems like he had today, he's going to be tough to beat.
Right. We'll agree to disagree on that one, Rodney. I'm going to pick Jason Thomas. You can have Stuart Baylor.
I'll take Stuart Baylor. I'll take Stuart Baylor. I know a lot of people probably think it's fluff, Jason, but the real God's honest truth, we've got ourselves set up for this 2011 season as possibly being the greatest season in history with the depth of the field of talent that we've got. It's unbelievable, and it's who knows what's going to happen race to race.
Yeah, we've got so many different guys that are possible race winners, and obviously we've seen that. We've had 3 different race winners in the in all of our classes, right?
I think so.
That. Yeah, we had 3 different race winners in both classes. So, I mean, if that doesn't show the depth of talent, I don't know what else does. We've got guys in the XC1 class that are going to be going at it. We won't make those. Maybe we'll make those predictions next race.
I don't want to go there.
Rodney, we're agreeing to disagree on the XC2 class, and that's pretty much it. We're awesome racing. I can't wait for Big Buck. We got a couple weeks. Everybody's going to be healed up. Thoughts and prayers with Thad Duvall. Hope he's going to be all right. And that's pretty much it.
I'm Rodney Tomblin.
I'm Jason Hooper. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks.